We managed to do some skiing this last week, and it's been kind of a crazy winter. Last year, this same time, I literally had like 3 feet of snow outside of my window. And this year, on the same day, I still have grass that's a little bit green, and it's been like 60 degrees and sunny. And so it's almost like a perpetual spring up here in Colorado. Spending time in the mountains, hiking and mountain biking, skiing has been a core part of my vision for life for, quite some time. And it's not just something that I enjoy, it's how I tend to regulate. It's how I stay connected to myself and how and where I feel most alive. And I have a partner who genuinely wants to be up there doing some of that stuff with me, but I'm also very clear that it's a nice to have. It's not a deal breaker. And so if for whatever reason Caitlin didn't want to do those things with me, it would be totally okay. It's a strong want, but I could accept if that's not her thing. And that distinction matters so much more than most people realize. Because over the years, what I've seen again and again in working with people is this. Most of us were never trained to identify what we actually want in a relationship. We weren't taught how to separate a need from a want or a want from a desire. We weren't taught how to qualify them. And we definitely weren't taught how to relate to them in a responsible way. And so instead, most of us live in a very different conversation. We live in a conversation of what's disappointing us, what's frustrating us, what's not happening, what someone else should be doing differently. And when that conversation runs long enough, especially with the people that are closest to us, it quietly plants the seeds of discontent, and that's disconnection. Without training, we sit in that soup. Relationships slowly erode and marriages end, friendships fracture, and families become distant or even estranged. Not because people don't care, but because they were never taught how to work with what's actually happening underneath the disappointment. Last week, we talked about vision and why vision is the anchor for everything that tends to follow. Vision gives us context, it gives us a North Star. It tells us what we're actually trying to build toward, not just in relationship, but in life. And this matters here because vision should be informing what our needs, wants, and desires should be. Just because you have a need, a want, or a desire doesn't automatically mean that it should be fulfilled or that it even belongs in this relationship. And that's a hard truth. And it's also a freeing one. Vision asks a more mature question. Does this align me with the relationship in life that I actually want to create? Without vision, needs, wants, and desires become reactive. With vision, they become clarifying. Here's where most people get tripped up. When we feel disappointed, angry, resentful, or hurt, we assume something must be wrong with the situation or with the other person. And so we let the emotion tell us about what's happening, what it means, and then what we should do next. And that's backwards. I say this often, and it bears repeating. Emotions are not there to inform us about what we should do or about what's happening externally. They're here to inform us about where we are. Think of emotion like a GPS. It's a "you are here" signal, not a set of instructions. When you're in a fear-based state, anger, resentment, disappointment, or anxiety, that's not proof that something is wrong with the relationship. It's an indication that a need, want, or desire is currently unmet. And that's it. What if we learn how to work with that signal instead of reacting to it? Then everything can change. Let's slow this down and define terms clearly. We all have needs. A need is a non-negotiable. If this is not met, the relationship is not going to continue as is, and it must evolve or it will end eventually. True needs are very few. We have wants. A want is important. You have a strong impulse for it. But if it isn't met or isn't met in this specific relationship, the relationship can still work and also thrive. We also have desires. A desire is the icing on the cake. It's nice to have, it's enjoyable, but if it never shows up, it doesn't create pain or cause suffering. Most people don't suffer because their needs aren't met. They suffer because everything gets labeled as a need. Nothing gets qualified, and no one ever steps back to ask if it even aligns with their vision. Here's a practical way to work with emotion instead of being run by it. When you're in a fear-based state, like frustration or disappointment, ask yourself, what was supposed to happen that didn't? What happened that wasn't supposed to? When you're in a love-based state, like joy or connection, ask yourself the opposite. What's happening that's supposed to? What isn't happening that's not supposed to? This lets emotion do its actual job, pointing you toward unmet or met needs, wants, and desires. Now we're not reacting, we're orienting. When a fear-based emotion shows up, the work looks like this. Step 1, identify. Name the need, the want, or desire that's not being met. Step 2, confirm alignment and ask yourself honestly, should I even be holding this based on my vision for relationship and life? Step 3, you want to qualify. Is this a need? Is it a want? Or is it a desire? Step 4, place it properly. Does this belong in this relationship, or could it be fulfilled elsewhere through community or friendship, maybe creativity, or through a sense of purpose in life? This one step alone relieves enormous pressure from many relationships. Most of us skip every step above. Instead, we feel disappointed, we assume the other person caused it, and we try to manage them. We get upset, we withdraw, we explain, and then we blame. We make other people responsible for our emotional state, and that never works. Because no one can regulate your nervous system for you. And that's how we end up stuck, cycling between resentment and repair attempts that never really land. Once you start working this way, something clicks. You realize, oh, I'm not broken, I'm untrained. And that's hopeful, because once you know what you actually need and what you don't, relationships stop being a guessing game. You stop outsourcing your stability, and you stop making people responsible for your inner world. You stop confusing disappointment with incompatibility. This is a different paradigm of relationships, what they're for, how they're supposed to work, and how to design them instead of just letting them become. Needs, wants, and desires are only workable once they're clearly named, but naming them isn't enough. Next week, we're going to move into expectations, which are the playbook for how needs, wants, and desires are actually met. Because clarity without structure still leads to frustration, and this is where most relationships quietly break down. Which brings me to something that many of you have been asking me about. The Relationship Alchemy Intensive is coming up March 28th and the 29th here in Denver in one of my favorite parts of the city, Cherry Creek. This is a live in-person 2-day training where we take everything we've been talking about in this series and apply it in real time. Over the weekend, we're going to place a strong focus on romantic relationship and do a deep dive into the 5 core elements of relationship alchemy: vision, needs, wants, and desires, expectations, boundaries, and communication. This isn't theoretical work, it's practical, it's experiential, and it's designed to help you actually feel the difference in how you show up, especially in the relationships that matter most to you. If relationship has been the place where you feel the most activated, confused, or stuck, or if you intellectually get it but can't access the skill when it matters, or if you're ready to stop managing connection through effort, explanation, or avoidance, this is the training ground for all of that. We have a handful of spots left at the beginning of this recording. If you feel the pull, you can learn more and register here at the link below. Whether or not you join us in Denver, I want to leave you with this. When disappointment shows up in a relationship, it isn't a verdict. It's just information. It's your system telling you that something important to you hasn't been named, qualified, or placed yet. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means that you're learning. And so for now, sit with this question. When I feel disappointment, do I know what I'm actually wanting? And have I ever decided whether it's a need, a want, or a desire? If you want to share, go ahead and hit reply. Even a sentence or two is awesome. And if not, just notice what becomes clearer as you hold the question. More on that soon. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you again next week. If you'd like the Connection Fix delivered to your inbox every Sunday morning, you can sign up for the newsletter version at the link below.